Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast.
Welcome on in, everybody, to another Monday Night Sports Buffoons podcast. We are here, of course, joined with Nick Bodkins of the Bodkins Show. Nick, welcome in. Thank you again for joining.
Always. It's always a pleasure, boy. Sorry I missed last week, but, dad duties and coach duties had to take place.
Did you get the sweep?
I did get the sweep. Yeah. These girls are going to give me gray hair. I'm going to have gray hair or bald hair by the time season's over.
That's what it'll be. Then we got JG of the Sports Buffoons as well. JG, I know you're on vacation up there in Colorado somewhere. So welcome in. Glad you're able to join still.
What's up, dudes? Yeah, I was telling you guys earlier that I'm on a gambling detox right now. So there's not a casino within an hour and a half. So I'm safe. I didn't even bring my bankroll with me.
You're gonna be like the Chappelle guy scratching his neck here. Where is it?
Yeah, and then having withdrawals, dude.
Right. And then my name's Tanner, guys, of the Sports Buffoons as well. Just a quick little thing here. Make sure you guys subscribe and follow and hit the bell to know when we go live as well. We got a busy time of year coming up with football season in, so we may just go live randomly, so just be ready for it. As well, make sure you guys go follow the Bodkins Show. You'll see him every Sunday night, Monday night here with us, Saturday nights, usually Saturday afternoons, nights with Let's Talk Sports with Dan over there. Fabulous network, by the way. And then you'll find the Buffoons, of course, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central. We'll be doing our podcast with Mike joining in. You know, football's ramping up, guys. NBA finals are done with. Football's ramping up. Be ready. Find me on Let's Talk Sports as well with Dan on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Central. We just talk random stuff as well, a little baseball, a little football, a little bit here and there. So, and then, of course, Monday nights, what we got going on. So, well, let's dig into it, guys. The NBA season is officially over. The finals are done. The Warriors win it. Curry gets his MVP. Let's first before we go into anything, I want to know what went wrong for the Celtics. JG, can you kick us off with that? What went wrong for the Celtics?
I would say very little, actually. I mean, their defense can't really get any better. I mean, they couldn't have played any better defensively than they did. And I think the only thing that went wrong was just kind of their roster. I mean, they didn't have a true point guard. You know, I've been cramming it down you guys' throats for I don't know how long.
Yep.
But you know, it's just the turnovers were an issue, and that was the end all be all for their season, is that the fact that they couldn't limit their turnovers. But I thought defensively, and as far as what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown brought to the table offensively, I mean, you know, they didn't really play that bad. They just came up against a better team, a more experienced team, and that's what happens when you get to the finals. I mean, there's not much that they can do about it except to take the experience that they've had, take that to the bank, and hope for bigger and better things next year.
Yeah, Nick, what do you got? What do you think went wrong for the Celtics?
Oh, man. I mean, they just ran into the better team. I mean, that's what went wrong. I think Andrew Wiggins, that's what happened. I mean, Jason Tatum, the same thing that happened in the other series, except for the Warriors were just able to close it out, unlike the Heat, the Bucks. The Nets series was a sweep, but it was close. They just were better. Andrew Wiggins, really, Tatum, there was hit or miss at times. I mean, look at that last game. Bad shooting night. Was kind of a no-show at times. I thought Jaylen Brown had the Celtics force, Game 7 and won Game 7. I would have gave the MVP to either Al Horford or Jaylen Brown because I thought those two showed up almost every night. But just the defense of the Warriors, I thought, and then just the turnovers, I think exhaustion. The series that they had, they went through a murderous road to get there. So I just think they lost to the better team. I mean, I believe somebody on this show said Warriors in 6 and Steph Curry is MVP. I don't know who that was. Oh, wait. Spoiler
JG.
alert, it was me. That's who it was.
It was you.
It was me. So as the champ here, the champ got it right. The champ got it right. I told you guys I didn't flip-flop technically, but I was a little worried when it was 2-1 Boston. But yeah, they just ran into the better team. That's what happened.
So before we go on what went right for the Warriors, right? Before we hit that real quick, were we hyping up the wrong Celtic player this whole entire playoff series? Was it really Jaylen Brown that's supposed to be what Jason Tatum hype was? Because that's what I'm believing right now. Is Jaylen Brown was the man the entire time, and there was like a distraction of hyping up Tatum. What do you guys think, JG? What's your thought here? Are we hyping up the wrong man for the Celtics?
No, I mean, I think ultimately Jaylen Brown is going to be the better player and is the better player, but the way it's shaped up in this series is that Jaylen Brown was the best fourth quarter player. And so he was kind of the guy that you could depend on at the end of games.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's going to be like that moving forward. I just think that, Jason Tatum, while I told you guys he is not first team All NBA, I think he's kind of right on the fringe there. And he's definitely an elite talent. He's a superstar talent. But like you said, Nick, those guys, when I watched those last couple games, they just looked exhausted. And even in that, I think it was game 5, when Steph Curry kind of shit the bed, he looked exhausted. And, so the Celtics just, man, they were worn out. But yeah, no, I don't think you're hyping the wrong guy. I think Jason Tatum is the man on that team. And they just need to tweak maybe one or two things with that roster. But Jason Tatum has been and will be always the man on that team.
Nick, I mean, I don't know if the stats real because I never actually had a chance to verify it. Was there really 100 turnovers in the playoffs for Jason Tatum?
100 turnovers.
No way, right?
Yeah.
Do you think are we promoting the wrong guy? Are we hyping up the wrong guy?
I don't think you are, because here's the thing: when they're sticking their best defender on you, you're the guy. And I think what happened to Tatum too, he got clogged into the the Kobe Bryant hype machine. I'd hate to say, like, him reaching out saying he's doing all this for Kobe and that for Kobe. I think people also latched onto that as well for sentimental reasons. But he is the guy. So when they're sticking their best defensive player on you, it allows a guy like Jason with Jaylen Brown to be more free and to free up Al Horford as well. Because he's not getting their best defensive player. Let's see what would happen if Wiggins would have went on Brown, or a couple of other guys. They were running multiple guys on Jaylen Brown. And probably a little differently. You have 100 turnovers because you're getting the ball quite a bit, and he's a young player. Like, let's not trash him too much. He guy's only 22, 23 years old still. He's not in his he's still got a long, long way to go. Hopefully we forget about these 100 turnovers. So, hopefully we can spell redemption next year, but, we'll get into that a little bit later, I think.
There was a meme going around. I don't know if you guys saw it, but, there was Jason Tatum text to Kobe, right, saying, "Hey, I got you." And then after he lost the finals there and 13 points, it said, "Block my number." No, or delete my number. It was awesome. I loved it. All right, so let's talk about Warriors, guys. What we're right here. Obviously, Draymond showed up. 12 points, 12 boards, 8 assists. The guy came out of nowhere, and he played with Draymond the way Draymond's supposed to play. Clay wasn't, Clay was average. Not doing much. It's all right because we didn't expect that, but he did enough, I think, to help the team out. And the other guy, of course, Wiggins, who had a phenomenal game as well, defensively as well, 18 points as well. And then Steph Curry blew up. So, I mean, JG, let's hear it. What's the Warriors' take here?
So the two things that went right for the Warriors had nothing to do with Steph, Clay, or Draymond, because Clay wasn't really Clay. I think he's going to be better next year. But Draymond wasn't Draymond. What went right for the Warriors was Andrew Wiggins. You guys already mentioned that, averaging 16 and 7, and not just in this series, but throughout the entire playoffs. He would always guard the other team's best player, and he is an elite defender. And that's just a player that nobody really accounted for. The Celtics didn't account for him. And honestly, they didn't really have the manpower to account for him. And they certainly didn't have the manpower to account for Jordan Poole, who, he only had like 15 points in that last game, but throughout the entire playoffs, teams just weren't accounting for him. He averaged 17 points per game for the entire playoffs, and his percentages in the playoffs were 51% and 39 from three-point land. And you remember when Steph was injured, Jordan Poole was the starter. And so in the finals, they didn't really need him to do that much. His usage rate wasn't that high. But even still, if that's a guy that's going to get you 12 or 15 points a game, that's what won them the finals. I mean, Steph did his thing, but when you can't account for guys like Wiggins and Jordan Poole, I mean, you really don't have much of a shot.
No, that's fair too. Poole ended up with 15 points, 3 for 8 from 3. So, not quite the splash of a pool party, but enough to get the job done. Nick, what were your thoughts here with the Warriors?
JG hit it right on the head. Andrew Wiggins, that's what happened. I mean, he was at times the second best. I would say this whole series, he was the second best Warrior on the court. I mean, games 1 through 6, and at times was the second best player on the court. I mean, he was the best two-way player for sure, I thought, on the court. Almost anytime he was on the court, I thought he was the huge difference in this game. Was kind of, I guess, like he would say the others, right? Like, I mean, he anointed himself, and you add in Jordan Poole and things like that, and then you finally get a Draymond game. It did seem like Klay Thompson just could never quite get going, but he didn't need to get going. It was, Jordan Poole. It was, Andrew Wiggins. I think JG nailed it right on the head with the Andrew Wiggins. That's kind of what happened. They didn't account for him. Steph did his thing all but one game. When Steph doesn't make a three in game 5 and they still win that game, that's when you knew the Celtics were in trouble and that the series was going to be over in 6.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's a phenomenal win. Got Steph his 4th title, first Finals MVP. So here comes the question. I'm on JG. Is it official, baby? Is he coming out of Akron?
Nah, dude. Yeah, first of all, you got to pronounce it right. It's called Akron.
I can't even say it, dude. I can't even say it.
A million times. But now, I hate to burst you guys' bubble, but LeBron James is still a better player, has a better resume than Steph Curry. Now, I'm not telling you it's going to end up that way. We got a long way to go. But as of right now, yeah, I mean, Steph Curry, I mean, you got to put him in the top 10. I've heard guys out there that won't put him in the top 10. I've heard guys that'll put him in the top 5. But, I mean, he definitely helped his legacy. I think the big mark for him at age 34 is if he can somehow get to that 5th ring, because like we've said before, you get 5 championships as a superstar in this league, you are all of a sudden on a short list that does not include LeBron James. So, but yeah, I mean, he definitely helped his legacy, but I think his goal has got to be to get to 5. He's got to get 5 rings to try to separate himself from a lot of the other greats throughout history.
I mean, I feel like if you win 4 titles, right, and not counting losses, not counting your appearances, not counting NBA Finals MVPs, right, 4 titles, I feel like you should be up there sitting with the big dogs like Kobe, LeBron, MJ, you name it, right? You should be sitting somewhere in the table there and not at the kiddie table anymore. You should be up there with the main guys. Now, MJ, of course, is going to be head of the table, right? We're not going to say nobody's passing him right now because it's just not possible right now. But is he sitting up there with the big dogs then? Are we saying that he's there with LeBron, Kobe, and all those guys?
Man, it's still tough for me. I was just why the question was getting asked. I had to look. I was looking at ESPN when they did the NBA did the top, 75 for players the last 75 years. So I was looking at who their 10 was. You have Shaq at 10, Kobe at 9, Tim Duncan at 8. So let's just start there. Those 3. Does he pass any of those 3? I think maybe Shaq, right? Like Shaq maybe Shaq. I wouldn't put him ahead of Kobe. I wouldn't put him ahead.
Hell no, you're not putting him ahead.
Right? You're not putting. I'll never put him in front of Tim Duncan because I just love Tim Duncan to death. And if you could throw 1,000 stats at me, I just love Tim Duncan. So I love his game, always will. So that's just a homer for me. Like I'm my bias. Then you got Larry Bird at 7. I don't think he's better than Larry Bird. I mean, Shaq would be it, right? Like Shaq is so is he better than Shaq? Shaq always had to seem like another guy, a guard. The game was a lot different back then. It was fed through the big guy. Now it's Steph Curry kind of changed that and changed the game. I would put Curry at 10 over Shaq, I guess, if I was building a team. I mean, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain was 6, Magic 5. I mean, you had Oscar in there as well. Bill Russell, Kareem, then LeBron and Jordan. So where are you putting Steph Curry on that list? It has to be at 10 over Shaq if you're going to put him on the top 10 there. So I'm okay with that. I mean, 4 if he's got another chance to get another one. This was the most important one. He got one without KD, the first one, and then they had the KD run, and now this was the most important. Got his finals, especially after everything they had to. Now, so I'll give him the nod, and could probably win. I mean, barring injury, in the next 2 years, they could probably catch another one.
What do you think, JG?
I agree with you as far as Shaq. I would definitely put him ahead of Shaq right now. As far as Tim Duncan goes, you guys know me. I'm a big Spurs fan. I would say if Steph gets to 5, then yes, I will put him ahead of Tim Duncan, even though they'll both have 5 rings. And I would actually I think Larry Bird on the lists is a little bit inflated because he only won 3 championships, and Steph Curry, I mean, just look at the percentages. He's a better 3-point shooter than Larry Bird. And Larry Bird, I mean, I know Larry Bird had a shortened career due to injury, but I mean, the last time I checked, 4 championships is more than 3, and Steph Curry has a ways to go. So I'd put him ahead of Bird. I'd put him ahead of Shaq.
LeBron.
I mean, I'd put Curry at number 7, number 8, kind of in that range.
Yeah, I think Kobe's obviously undervalued in that. So, yeah, move Kobe up, of course. But, yeah, I think Steph should be up there too. I agree. So, guys, yeah. Anything else on the Warriors, Steph? Anything right now that we want to talk about before we hit the offseason needs for these guys?
I just think you saw this was, to me, their most important one, like his most important one. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of it. I thought he knew this was his time, his team, had to show that they didn't need KD, kind of stuck it to KD and all the haters. I mean, the last few years with all the injuries that they've had. So I just think this will be the one that sticks out the most to that team, that core.
JG, anything?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the narrative going forward, is that, he won 2 with KD and 2 without KD. Well, I mean, 10, 15 years from now, nobody's going to really look back and worry about that. The bottom line is that this has been and always will be Steph Curry's team. And he's the best player on the team. And I can make the argument that even though KD won those 2 finals MVPs, Steph was just as good of a player on those teams. And so, I mean, 4 rings is 4 rings. And when we look back throughout history, I mean, that's going to be the only thing that matters.
All right, guys. So let's talk a little offseason here, NBA offseason, all right? The draft's coming up and everything, but let's see exactly what these 2 teams in the finals need to do to get back to this point and for one to succeed. So let's start with the Boston Celtics, guys. What are we thinking here for Boston's needs this offseason?
I mean, I think they just need to run it back. I mean, like I said earlier, there's not really a whole lot you can do defensively to get better. I just think they need continuity more than anything. A lot of teams, they like to blow it up, but when you make it to a finals, that's a big deal. You don't just want to blow it up, and start over with, a lot of people would say, well, just keep Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and then blow the rest of the thing up. No, that's not what you want. You want continuity. And I would say maybe target a guy like Mike Conley, because they needed a guy to initiate the offense. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are forwards. they shouldn't be initiating the offense. That's not their job. So I would maybe make a move for a veteran point guard that you can throw in there, maybe give you 25 minutes a game to go along with Derek White. And I think that will eliminate the turnovers, if nothing else, but also give you a little bit more experience at that point guard position.
All right, Nick, what are you thinking for the Celtics?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Like, I mean, what can they add? You know, they kind of have the young core there already. It's so hard to get back to the championship. You know, we talk this group where it's a little bit like the Thunder group, like those three young guys, and they got to one and lost and never got back. I mean, Durant did, but Westbrook and Hart have never even been back since. And that was like, I mean, it seems like 2 decades ago almost. So what can they do? I mean, yeah, I like to add in the point guard, the veteran, you know, get a guy like Mike Conley's a good guy, somebody that can start the offense, is not going to turn the ball over. Move Marcus Smart to the 2, try to bring back Al Horford and them. But here's the thing, like, are you taking them right now over a healthy whoever they add? Let's just say they add Milwaukee, you know, or they add Conley or something like that. Are you going to put them over a healthy Milwaukee? Like, I mean, I probably won't. I mean, Chris Middleton comes back. They went 7 games without Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
I still think Milwaukee's probably the number 1 team in the East. Like, they're going to have a little luck to get back and add some, you know, another point guard. So luck and a point guard.
Yeah. I'm with you on Milwaukee. I don't think there would be a lot of separation there, but I think Milwaukee would have a slight edge. But I'm glad you brought up the Thunder, because that kind of goes to my point about continuity. The only reason why the Thunder never got back is because of the owner's stupidity of not wanting to pay like $1 million or $2 million in luxury tax to bring back James Harden. They would have easily made it back to like, what, 3 more finals? They probably would have won at least 1 championship, except for that dumbass owner didn't want to. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pay $1 million on the motherfucking luxury tax. Well, you know, that just goes to my point about continuity. You want to keep the core guys together no matter what.
Hey, we also got to think about too. I believe they got to work to extend and keep Jaylen Brown first off, right? You need to make sure you have your second piece right there. And then, yeah, I'd say look at getting a true point guard, somebody that can lead the field. Obviously, Marcus Smart's not it. So, but I agree on there. So Brown, though, would be a priority right now, I think, to make sure you got him for a long time.
And,
all right.
Health, too. Robert Williams was banged up most of the playoffs.
Yep.
Like, I think that was a huge thing. I mean, when he was healthy, you know, Robert Williams.
Yeah, Robert Williams. Yeah, health is going to be key. Now, do you keep Horford? Or you just let him go?
You have to keep Horford, man. Like, he's not that old, dude. He's going to be able to give you that experience and that rim protection. And, dude, he can knock down threes. I mean, you've got to keep Horford.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Golden State. What do they got to do? They got Looney, Otto Porter Jr., and somebody else there that's already willing to come back to try to repeat. And then Jordan Poole, you know, everybody's having fake conversations essentially saying Jordan Poole's going to be a hot commodity. In this next week, essentially, actually next few days, there's talks with Sacramento. There's talks about people giving up their 1 through 5 picks somewhere in the matter. So what are we thinking here for Golden State? JG, I'll let you start it off.
I'm not really too worried about keeping guys like Otto Porter Jr. and Kevon Looney, but you do need to keep the rest of those guys together, specifically Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins. Those are the guys that they're going to be looking for a big payday. And, you know, the Warriors, they don't really care too much about the luxury tax. Like, you know, we talked about the Thunder back in the day. I think they're going to be willing to pay these guys, and they have to, because Steph, Clay, and Draymond, dude, they're not going to be around forever. They're only going to get older, and you've got to pay guys like Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins. But outside of that, they don't really need to do a whole lot, because they've got James Wiseman coming back next year, who's an athletic freak. Mm-hmm. They've got Jonathan Kuminga, who's only going to get better, who's an athletic freak. All they got to do is just keep the guys that they've got, their young, up-and-coming stars, and then just, do whatever they can in the draft. But I mean, when you start to see him flash his talent next year, if he can stay healthy, I mean, the NBA is going to be in a world of hurt if that guy actually pans out along with Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, and Wiseman actually, I believe, started training again here during the finals. So he's been out and about working on his game essentially. And if that guy comes back healthy, that's going to be a scary team again. Nick, what are your thoughts here on the Warriors?
Yeah, JG again hit it. I can't disagree with anything JG just said, really. I mean, nailed it right there. Like, bring everybody back that you can get back, and then you can sign, you're going to find guys that will sign vet minimum to come catch a ring. So I think they'll get healthier with Wiseman coming back. You got to bring in, keep Wiggins. Wiggins already said he wants the best place for him is right there in San Francisco. Jordan Poole, bring him back. You can really build a nice young core and have those veteran guys still be there. And they're not, like JG said, they're going to pay those guys. They don't give a damn about the salary cap, luxury tax. They're going to kick the can down the road or whatever you want to do. They're willing to pay it because they want to be winners. They got a nice young core, a nice veteran core. I like the vets are going to breed into that, keep that, continuity and that, culture that everybody likes to talk about, going forward. So the screens was missing.
Yeah, sorry. My screen like flashed on me. So I'm like, all right.
Culture going forward. So I do think that, just bring everybody back and keep growing and keep building. Like, I mean, they could be a real dynasty even in the next quite a few years still.
Yeah, and we'll see exactly what they do in the draft as well. That's going to be a big thing as well. All right, guys, so let's continue on the NBA offseason here. Let's start with our guy, LeBron James. The guy hasn't signed his extension yet, or his option, or whatever it is. Do we see him sticking around with the Lakers if they don't fill his needs? And if not, where could he end up?
Golden State.
I mean, that's in his wet dreams. Yeah, he's going to be on Golden State in his wet dreams. That's the only place that's going to happen. But honestly, guys, if I'm LeBron James, you got to get the heck out of there, dude, because there's nothing they can do. You can, like, Anthony Davis already came out and said, "Oh, I haven't shot in a basketball in 2 months." Well, who gives a fuck? Well, you should give a shit. If you're a professional at any sport or any profession, you should give a shit. You should be shooting the basketball and not just, eating a bunch of cheeseburgers for 2 months straight. But that's not there. I would say, yeah, LeBron, I mean, dude, he's got to get out of there. But I don't believe that's going to happen. I think he's going to stay. I think they're going to try to make it work. I mean, I'd be all for if they move Russell Westbrook for Kyrie Irving.
Hey, that'd be interesting.
I think that he's already proven that he can play alongside LeBron James. They won a championship together. And, they would at least be in play. Even if you think that Anthony Davis isn't going to be healthy for a full season, I mean, if they can just keep him healthy until the playoffs, I mean, they would be a major player, I think, with Kyrie. But I just don't think it's going to work with Westbrook. I don't really care about – I mean, yeah, I'm sure the new coach, Darvin Ham, is a great coach. But sometimes, no matter how good of a coach you are, you can't fix a dumpster fire that is the Lakers right now. So, I mean, yeah, I think he's going to stay. But if I was in his shoes, I would get the hell out of there.
Yeah, so and Westbrook has already been basically committed to the Lakers, and the Lakers have been committed back to him with the new head coach there. So I don't see Westbrook leaving. But, yeah, I think LeBron stays either way as well. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so LeBron James, the players, got to really hate LeBron James, the general manager, right? Like the LeBron James,
Le GM, just call him Le GM.
Yeah, Le GM,
Lagon in the playoffs.
I mean, the Le GM probably hates, LeBron James hates Le GM. I mean, he built that team. He's the one that signed off on Carmelo. He's the one that signed off on wanting Russ, bringing Russ, and keeping Russ even at the All-Star break. So, he signed off on getting rid of Caruso. Yeah, signed off on all those guys. So, like, hey, see you later. It's his fault that team is a hot garbage, hot dumpster fire, So now he's stuck like Chuck. I mean, where's it going to go though? Like, I mean, going to go back home to Cleveland for the third time, and maybe I don't know. He's going to stay in LA. I mean,
I said it before. I said it before. Go back to Miami. That would be the perfect opportunity, is to go back to Miami.
It would be, because then him and Jimmy Butler, he would have a good budding star in Jimmy Butler, and a dog in Jimmy, and that dog mentality, and they would have a playmaker as well in LeBron, somebody that could handle the ball and take the ball kind of outside of Jimmy's hands. But I mean, what are they going to give up to get him? Or I guess, you know what I mean? So I think he'll be in a Laker uniform next year, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
Hey, dude, I guarantee you that Pat Riley would give up all those fucking picks if he could get LeBron James back.
All of them. He'd be coming home, according to Pat Riley. Dude.
All of them.
All of them, baby.
All right, guys.
Pat Riley will do anything to get rings, dude.
You're
100%. Yeah,
100%.
All right, so next guy on the list here, Kyrie Irving. There was some not good things happening up in Brooklyn. Sounds like Kyrie is in management just not agreeing on anything. Sounds like he is going to be on the move most likely here and going away from Brooklyn, which is kind of crazy. But who's going to put up with him? Who's going to put up with Kyrie now after being with Boston and Cleveland and Nets? And I mean, there's already links to him going to the New York Knicks. There's links to the LA, the Clippers. Where are we seeing? Where are we seeing Kyrie go this season?
Well, first and foremost, the Nets just need to get rid of the fucker. I don't care where he goes. That's from the Nets' perspective. Now, I've said all along that I wanted to see a reunion with him and LeBron. And if they do the Westbrook trade, you get a reunion of Westbrook and Durant. And that might actually work better than Kyrie and Durant. I'm not saying they're going to win a championship, but if I'm the Nets, most importantly, I got to get rid of that guy, because it just seems to me like he's kind of a cancer in the locker room. I mean, yeah, I know he gets along with KD, but outside of that, I mean, I think everybody else probably hates the guy. They're like, dude, you know, we don't care about your vaccine status, but if you're not fucking playing, then we're never going to win anything. So I just think that even if you think the vaccine situation is going away next year, I think it's time to move on from Kyrie.
Yeah. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, he does have a player option he can sign. So what's happening right now is that they're at an impasse of the contract extension that's going on. So I mean, but if you can't get an extension done, I wouldn't think he's going to sign his player option and want to stay there. So it does look like the writing's on the wall to trade him. And if I'm the Nets, that's what I would exactly want. Stay away from him. Trade him across town in New York for some picks, and maybe get a guy like RJ Barrett or somebody like that, and a young and up-and-comer star to team up with. I do like the Russ trade. I mean, LeBron, the GM probably thinks he could pull that trade and talk to Kyrie and say, hey, we did in Cleveland, we can do it here in LA. The difference is, you know, Kyrie's only played like 82 games, like 3 times his whole career. So either he's sitting out because he just wants to sit out, or he's sitting out because he's injured. He doesn't do his job, right? Like, that's the thing. It's like he doesn't show up to work. And, you know, as any other player or any person, like, if you're working, if I go to work and I'm going to be pissed off at the guy who's never there, like I'm picking up the slack as just a hardworking American person. Anybody could agree with that. Like, I'm here putting in the work. Where's this guy? Oh, he's just choosing not to be here. So I do think it's time for them, the Nets, and that's the best situation, is to find a suitor for Kyrie and get whatever you can get for him ASAP.
And get a player or players that believe in having a head coach, because Kyrie Irving doesn't think he needs a coach, and him and KD were basically just pass the ball back and forth last year and just, you know, go one-on-one. That's not any kind of an offense. You can't run an NBA offense just like bring the ball down and shoot. Okay, now give it back to KD and shoot. They ran no offense whatsoever, and it's because Kyrie, either he doesn't believe in coaching, or he thinks that he can be a player coach, or what have you. I mean, And then maybe you want to move on from Steve Nash as well, but at least get some players in there that want to be coached and that will buy in to a head coach.
Kyrie believes in a lot of things, like the world's flat. So that's just
Right.
let him believe whatever he's going to believe in, because he ain't going to change his mind. If he believes the world's flat, he believes he doesn't need coaching either.
Right.
No, I agree. All right, next guy on the list, guys, Bradley Beal. Who's he's already talked about some players have recruited him, and he's kind of in limbo of what he wants to do here. What do you think? Do you think he stays with Washington, or is he actually going to go somewhere, maybe like Portland or something like that? I don't know. I think he stays in Washington, honestly. I think he signs the extension or signs the deal and stays in there, gets his max money and all that jazz. So what are you thinking, JG?
I mean, I would say if he had his choice, I think he would probably want to go play with Le GM and try to win a championship over there. And I think it would be a perfect scenario because, Brad Beal, I think he's like 29 years old, but he's a scoring machine, dude. And he shoots, he's a very efficient player. He's got great field goal percentage. And I think that's what Le GM needs over there in LA. I don't know if they can make it work financially, but I think that would be a great scenario for Brad Beal to go play with LeBron and go try to win a chip.
What you got, Nick?
So, he can turn down his player option, which is $36 million, but he can sign stay with the Wizards for 5 years, $250 million.
Oh, geez.
That's a lot of money to turn down, boys.
A lot of dough, man.
Have you ever turned down 250? The three of us combined will probably never make $250 million in our lifetime. So that's a lot of money. Now, that's the question. Does he want to do the Carmelo and take the money, or does he want to go catch a ring? Because you're not going to catch a ring in Washington anytime soon. So it'll be $250 million is a lot. I just wanted to throw that out there so he knows where he turned out. I like if he goes to a team. Here's the team I would like to see him go to, and that's the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks are a team that can open up the pocketbook. They can't give him 5-year, $250 million, but team him up with Luka Doncic. Bradley Beal's always shown that he can be a great number two and play off a ball-dominant guard like he did with John Wall. Him and Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson as well. I think Brad Beal to the Mavericks would make perfect sense for both parties. He could sign a good-sized deal there, and, that team made it to the Western Conference Finals. You add Brad Beal to that team, they might be playing. They could play in them. You'd think that they could make a case for the NBA Finals. But 5 years, $250 million, boys. That's hard to turn down.
Yeah, but that's the case if Brunson stays, right? If Brunson doesn't stay, that's an easy fit and an upgrade in for Dallas.
Yeah, nobody's going to turn down that kind of money. Although Tiger Woods did turn down $1 billion to go play on the Live Golf Tour, but most guys are just not going to be capable of turning down that type of money. But I would love it, dude. Hey, man, if they can make that work on Dallas, I would love that roster.
That'd be crazy. That would be crazy.
Maybe you do a sign and trade, right? Like you sign him to a sign and trade to Dallas.
Yep.
I think that's the only possible. But if I'm Brad Beal, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, hey, I want to do a sign and trade. That way I get the max. The 250, but if that just depends on Washington's side.
That's true. All right, Nick, this is the final one here. I'm gonna let you kick this one off because I didn't get a chance to look anything up here for this. Charlotte Hornets had a coach deny them earlier, I believe last week. What are we thinking? Who's gonna coach the Hornets? Who's gonna coach LaMelo Ball? What do we got?
So Kenny Atkinson turned down it looked like the deal was done last week. Kenny Atkinson was going to become the next Hornets coach. I accidentally now I'm drawing a blank. The Jazz head coach that just left.
Quinn Snyder.
Thanks. Yeah, I knew it'd come to me. Quinn Snyder. What he did with the Jazz is kind of exactly where the Hornets are. A young team, good young point guard, can add some pieces. They need a big guy, the Rudy Gobert maybe type. I think that the Hornets should target Quinn Snyder as their next head coach. I would actually prefer him over what Kenny Atkinson did. If they get Quinn, I think they upgraded.
What do you think, JG?
Yeah, I agree with the Quinn Snyder move. I think it was very interesting that he seemed to accept the job, and then after he accepted it, turn it down. The only thing I can think of there is that the Warriors, Golden State must have just thrown him like a huge bag to like stay on with them. But I kind of like my default guy that I always throw out there is David Fizdale, just because I think he's a good coach, and I think being a coach of the shitball Knicks when he was, I don't think that was a really fair shot for him, and I think he's a really good coach that just needs another chance with a little bit better roster.
Yeah, I agree. There. So we'll have to see how exactly how that Hornets plays out on coaching, because I'd love to see Quinn Snyder in that role, especially that young of a team and that talented of a team. See it build up from like the Jazz too. So we'll see, guys.
He's a guy who won the G League, was coach of the year of the G League. So he's got some great experience of coaching young guys. Even at Mizzou, those guys were getting paid, and he was getting, coaching young guys who were getting paid when he was their coach. So I think Quinn's the perfect fit there for the Hornets.
Yep. All right, guys. Cool. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. This is the finale of our NBA show on Mondays here, but that doesn't mean we're done on Mondays. Announcement to come later this week. You'll see. Tune in onto our Twitter. Tune in to Let's Talk Sports at 11 a.m. Central, because I'm going to have an announcement on that one as well of what's to come of Mondays. Besides that, JG, it was a blast having you on this last, month, 2 months, 3 months of Mondays? I don't even know. However long the finals lasted, or the playoffs lasted, really, right? Through a broken arm and everything, man. It was a blast to have you on.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do for the next few months since we don't have the NBA. I guess I'll just have to watch the Summer League.
Hey, get Mike to watch it with you. You got to get one game. One game.
I think Mike would rather watch soccer than to watch the NBA Summer League.
Hey, World Cup, Arrowhead, man. He might go to Arrowhead just for it. We'll see. Nick, it's a blast, man. Appreciate you hopping on here for these NBA talks and all that. I can't wait to continue some stuff with you here going forward.
Always, yeah. It's been a pleasure hearing JG's super hot takes and things like that. So, love talking about it. I feel like the playoffs started 6 months ago, but we finally reached the end. It's like that basketball where the season just goes for a year, and then 8 months later, we're playing for the championship. So it's been a pleasure, boys. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you,
we could be covering.
As always, thanks for being on.
Yeah, we could be covering hockey, guys, and still go until the 1st of July. So, there's that. So, awesome, guys. Well, make sure you guys catch us on our shows here. Buffoons will be back Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Make sure you go subscribe and follow. The Bodkins Show will be on tomorrow night for his weekly recap of sports. Go follow him, and of course Sunday as well for him at around 7-8 p.m. Central. So everybody have a great, fabulous, Monday night, and we'll catch you later.
Peace.
See you guys.